G'day, Lockie here. Very quick update on some work I did last week around external admission webhooks and external admission controllers. So I wanted to give you a quick update. I've actually gone ahead and rewritten it for Kubernetes 1.9 and 1.10. And I wanted to show you how easy it is to actually install this and actually start playing with it. Now remember, the purpose of me putting together this repository was to enable the creation or admission check for internal load balancer annotations. Now these annotations are actually driven, you can have a look at the upstream docs here, off an annotation on the server. So if we look at internal load balancer, each provider has an annotation that must be on there, and that actually triggers the creation of an internal load balancer as opposed to an external load balancer. So I started this in context of having private clusters, which we enabled support for in ACS Engine. So I've updated it now. There's a Helm chart for the deployment, and now it supports any annotation, and the annotations can be passed in. So there's actually a chart here, a Helm chart, and we could pass in the service key annotation and the value for that key. So obviously I have the Azure load balancer internal set to true, but if you just as easily wanted to do it on GCP, you could set that key and that status. So it should just work like that. Now the other thing in Kubernetes 1.9 is there's two different types of admission, external admission webhooks. One is mutating and the other is validating. I have this set up by default, the Helm chart, to install a mutating webhook configuration. I'm going to show you what that looks like. The validating I kind of displayed in the last video I did on this. Will actually throw an error if you try to create a service that does not have that required key and value in the annotations field on the service. So I'll show you how easy this is to install. So what I actually have here is a Minikube up and running with 1.9.4. If you want to use Minikube, I have in the documents upstream on how to do that. There's a command here where you can provision a Minikube, a 193 or 194 using kubeadm with the extra validating admission webhook and mutating admission webhook present on the API server, so it'll work out of the box. Can do this on Azure with ACS Engine as well. Maybe I'll record a video on how to do that, but I just want to show you how easy it is to do. And obviously we just install. There's just a Helm install command there. So I'm going to run, let me do a watch on kubectl get pods. So I have no pods. I'm going to run an install of this admission controller. We're going to see the admission controller pod gets created. So let's see what we've created. We created a mutating webhook configuration. We created a deployment. We've got a pod there that's related to that deployment, and a secret here which has the cert. So the Helm chart deals with the cert generation and everything too. So that is up and running. I'm going to tail that, kubectl logs-f. Okay, so we can see we've started the web server there, and we're looking for this annotation. Okay, and remember this is mutating, so we can actually change it on the fly. So I'm going to create a service of type load balancer, my service load balancer on port 80. Okay, so that's been created. Now down here in the log file we can see that we've patched service type load balancer and this service name. So if we go and do a kubectl get service, give it the name, and let's have a look at the YAML. Let's have a look at this. Okay, fantastic. So I just created a service using kubectl create without this annotation, and the admission controller using mutating webhook configuration actually went and patched this on the fly, so added this annotation on the fly for this particular user. So if I do a kubectl edit service, and we are going to go ahead and just nuke this line and save it. So that was edited successfully. We'll go back and look at the logs and seeing that it's patched. Again, we get this file, and it is indeed back in the right place. So you can see what a mutating webhook does as opposed to a validating. A validating would have actually thrown an error on that create. So actually, why don't we reinstall this? So I'm going to delete this webhook, and we'll pop back over here to the documentation. We can actually install it as a validating webhook configuration. So I'm going to run the install again. But I'm going to stay, instead of being a mutating, let's create a validating webhook configuration. Yep, there we go. Okay, so kubectl get pods. Okay, again, I'm going to create a service. Now this is validating rather than mutation. So this webhook said that it's denied the request because it does not contain the required key and value. So again, we can go ahead and delete, and I've showed you mutating versus validation. It's cleaned up. You're welcome to contribute. This will work on any service annotation. We've abstracted it on, so that means you can have internal load balancers on any public cloud. And we did have an external contribution to this in the last week since I put it up. So slow clap to GLB. Thank you for contributing not only some deployment scripts and reviewing my code, but also I believe the Docker file now is multi-stage build. So we have quite a nice little Docker file. So that's it. If you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to raise issues, but the idea of this is to show you a Kubernetes native way to handle the creation or management of those service annotations, which in turn only allow internal load balancers to be created on clusters with this deployed. So that's it. Thanks for joining. Cheers.